Welcome back to The Express at the National Chef Conference for Tastes of Canada. How do you feel about oysters? You think they all taste the same? Well, we're going to ask you to think again when we taste test the Komagwai Oyster Bar coming up. But first, you heard of the Big Bang Theory, right? The one before the TV sitcom? Well, now there's talk of the Big Crunch. And we've got details and a demo from the H.R. MacMillan Space Center.
The expansion of our universe. Everything is moving away from the center of the universe.
No, it's moving away from us.
Us! Moving away from us. So it's not because we're angry or we smell bad. It has to do with going back to the beginning, the whole Big Bang Theory, right? And you've got a really simple way of demonstrating that with this balloon.
So on this balloon, we have several spots here.
Right.
And these can represent galaxies.
Okay.
Or more appropriately, clusters of galaxies. Because galaxies themselves and their neighbors, they're not affected by the expansion of the universe. They actually have gravity that will bring them together. So these can represent large clusters of galaxies.
So, and we're talking billions and billions of stars in each, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Billions of galaxies in each.
Okay, I'll blow this up.
It's working really well.
Wow, so apart from you feeling lightheaded, what just happened there?
So you notice that all the space between the galaxy clusters here actually got larger and larger.
But the galaxies themselves?
They never got larger.
No.
Because they're actually bound by gravity. So the distances between the further one got further away and faster, and it expanded faster.
Now what's going to happen at the end of this whole thing? Once this expands all the way, is it ever going to contract again?
Well, recently, as 10 years ago, many astronomers thought that it would expand and then would come back into something called the Big Crunch, essentially the opposite of the Big Bang.
Sounds tasty.
Not really.
No.
Okay. So now astronomers don't think that will happen, and more likely it will be something called the Big Freeze, when everything will keep on expanding and expanding and expanding until the distances between these galaxies will become so large that you won't actually see any more galaxies.
Huh.
Yeah, and that will happen in trillions and trillions and trillions of years from now.
Will it make a farting noise like this?
I don't think so.
No. Oh well. Can't wish for everything. Cool. Well, that's a great way of explaining how the expansion is working, and just using a simple balloon. Thank you very much. For the Express from the H.R. MacMillan Space Center, I'm Cam Cronin.
I'm Raminder Samra.
And hopefully we've expanded your brain a little bit today as well.
The universe is expanding, and so is the communication style of the wedding bells. It seems that the premarital coaching skills of young, hip, and married works for friends too. So all you BFFs out there, get ready to take some notes.
Carrots Wedding Bells is brought to you by Carrots, online at carrots.com.
When it comes to planning my wedding, I drag Aubrey everywhere.
Yep, even premarital counseling with young, hip, and married.
It is a wedding officiating business as well as premarital coaching.
They ask couples the tough questions.
Do you plan on being married forever?
I thought that was the idea. And there's other things to think about.
Like money, sex, children, in-laws.
Let's face it, Aubrey and I have a unique relationship.
We're professional partners, but I'm also the bride and she's also my bridesmaid, so it's like that fine line.
At first it was really fun.
What do you love about Sarah?
She's wicked smart, and it's not like the first thing you maybe
Probably she's from
get.
Boston.
No!
You're wicked smart.
You're wicked smart.
You have no fear. She can call Oprah. I don't like hurting anybody's feelings. I am not a confrontational person. Aubrey's very difficult to talk to.
Have you shared that with her?
No, just now.
In the coaching session, I found it really hard to sit and listen. Do I get a turn to speak here?
Hold on.
Okay. Surprise. I will just always say my opinion, and I don't think I'll fight or give a hard line.
She kept on saying hard line, and I was like, I don't know what line you're talking about.
Yeah, hard line's like a brick wall, meaning it's totally unwavering. Do you know what I mean? And then it was my turn to air grievances. You will stretch the truth and admit it to these two people sitting in front of us.
I don't lie.
You can't be out there saying things are happening and they're not happening.
If there's something that I want to happen, I think in my head it already has.
Okay, Here's Sarah's explanation.
I always make the package prettier than it actually is.
Turns out that our idiosyncrasies are also our strengths.
I appreciate your excitement and your joy of all things.
I love her no fear. Just nothing stops her, except for in love.
There's fear there. And in the end, Sarah had a solution.
Aubrey talking in a soft voice, and maybe saying please in a text message will be good.
My name is Aubrey. Can you guys even hear me?
And I realized
I'm a huge exaggerator. I know it.
The thing is, in all relationships, people will disagree.
Who's more of a drama queen?
and sometimes they agree.
Who is more likely to rack up the credit card?
Young, Hip, and Married had two final fantastic points.
Our big thing is sort of not to be understood, but to understand.
And
when you compliment someone rather than nag them, you call them forth to be a better person themselves.
When all was said and done,
I still continue to exaggerate, and she still continues to have a hard line, but that's okay.
Hard line is my new word, I think.
I still don't know what a hard line is, though.
For Shaw TV, we're the Wedding Bells. Hair and Makeup by Mink Makeup Art.
Carrots Wedding Bells has been brought to you by Carrots, online at carrots.com.
We want to take a moment to say congratulations to the super shooter editor of the Wedding Bells segment, Shaw TV's very own John Fenster, who recently won a Leo Award for Best Cinematography for his work on the segment. Congratulations, John. We're very proud of you, and you definitely deserve it. You're watching The Express, and we've got more ways to enjoy life on the West Coast coming up. After the break, what's unique about them? What makes them different than other oysters? A pearl on the Vancouver Island seafood scene.
Take longer walks to Galiano, and you might be the only person on the trail that day.
Galiano Island's hidden gems.
It's really beautiful.
The Express. We are your local voice.
Community programming on Shaw has been generously sponsored in part by
hairstyling and color services for Shaw TV, provided by the Lounge Hair Studio, loungehairstudio.com.
Welcome back to The Express at Tastes of Canada. This is part of the 48th Annual National Chef Conference, which is both a culinary and cultural event. The Comox First Nation are sharing their stories on two different kinds of stages. In legend, Komogwe is the ruler of the undersea. At this tasting event, Komogwe is also the ruler of the oyster bar. What's unique about them? What makes them different than other oysters?
The freshness, the way the First Nations is growing and raising them.
The oysters are sustainably sourced from Baines Sound off Vancouver Island. And when Larry says they're fresh, he really means it.
Yes, somebody will go out when you place an order, when our customers place an order, and pull out the order out of the water, and away we go.
Away we go indeed. Now comes the classy part, right? Oh, it's very nice. Very fresh, eh?
Very fresh.
And then why bubbly with it? Or why not? Comox, literally translated, means the land of plenty. So for us BC foodies, I guess the world really is our oyster. We're doing an extra West Coast show today on The Express, featuring oysters from the Comox area of Vancouver Island and my hometown with today's road trip feature.
Travel along with us on the Quality Assured Collision Road Trip as we explore the many marvelous attractions and activities of beautiful British Columbia.
It's an island paradise. Just down the road on Galiano Island, you'll discover fabulous scenery, wildlife, art, and some really great restaurants, like La Bergerie, which is located on the south end of the island near Montague Harbor. And it's a favorite of celebrities, like Jane Fonda.
It's been here for 30 years, run by Huguette, the owner. As of this year, myself, her son would play the violin in here, and they'd have live music and lots of locals and boaters from Montague, and yeah, just a nice little French restaurant with a twist.
The restaurant is filled with local art and has a B&B upstairs. In the summer, they open up their outdoor cafe where you can catch some live music or poetry readings. And just a few blocks away is Montague Marina, where you can find everything from yachts to kayaks.
It's the best place on the West Coast to kayak year-round. It's the only place where you can find consistent sun and lack of wind in the off-season.
There's lots of wildlife in this area, like this little mink swimming around. You'll also see birds, seals, eagles, and of course, whales.
Galiano, just standing at Bluff Park or going out in a kayak, is probably one of the best places in the world to see orcas.
And just down from the marina is Montague Provincial Park and Campground, a beautiful place to beachcomb or pitch a tent. But if roughing it isn't your thing, Galiano also has many B&Bs, cabins, and a luxurious hotel and spa. And if you want to leave your car behind, go ahead.
We have some lovely smart cars you can use to drive around, and we have on the island, we have mopeds, we have kayaks, we have bicycles, lots of ways to get around.
You can't miss the inn. You can see it from the ferry dock in Sturdy's Bay Village, where you will also find a variety of stores, many of which feature local artists.
I've got a line of aromatherapy. It's all made on Galiano.
From hats to socks to some pretty good art, there's really something for everyone. Sturdy's Bay Village also boasts one-of-a-kind eateries and a wonderful bookstore.
The bookstore is probably the best little bookstore in the world. That's how I call it. It has about 20,000 titles in tiny little 800 square foot prints.
And here's a great way to wrap up your trip to Galiano. Just park your car at the ferry terminal, wander over to the restaurant, eat, and sit on the outdoor patio and enjoy some wood oven pizza. And the staff will let you know when the ferry's coming. No stress. And if you want to walk on the ferry and just come to Galiano for a day, well, there's complimentary bus service in the summer. And it is an easy island to enjoy by foot.
You can come here, you can enjoy the beaches, you can walk the trails, you can walk from here to Bellhouse Park, you can walk from here to the top of the bluffs, you can walk, take longer walks to Mount Galiano, and you might be the only person on the trail that day. It's really beautiful.
From Galiano Island for Quality Assured Collision Road Trip, I'm Karen Elgersma.
Entertaining and informative, the Quality Assured Collision Road Trip. Weekends on Shaw TV. Always something new and exciting.
Next week with our road trip feature, we're heading up to Kelowna. But right now we have some fun summer ideas a little closer to home. It's time for the Cultus Lake Big Summer Spotlight. World of Dance is a huge international urban dance competition. You'll find hundreds of participants and the country's top dance troupes. The third annual Carnival del Sol includes performances by renowned Latin artists, street dancing, authentic Latin American food, and a soccer street tournament. Summer Live features outdoor music stages, family entertainment, sports activities, performing and visual arts, and First Nations history and culture. And that's it for today's Express from Tastes of Canada at the 48th Annual National Chef Conference. Next year, the conference heads to Halifax, and then for their 50th annual, they'll be in Edmonton. We're going to leave you with a look at the local art scene, and we'll see you next time.
Grade 11 students took their learning beyond the textbook with a trip to Guatemala that changed their lives and raised big questions about the world.
I think it's really easy for students to get closed in with what they're comfortable with, and you can't learn unless you're put out of your comfort zone, and Guatemala is completely out of your comfort zone. Everything is completely different food, different language, different people, so you get to learn so much and experience so much from another culture. We did a lot of things there. We dug a couple of cisterns for villages, which were about 12 families for each one, so that was really helpful for them. And then we worked at our sister school, which we actually have quite a few sponsor kids for, so it was cool because we got to meet the kids that we've been sponsoring.
The students came back with many life-changing experiences.
For me, the biggest challenge was definitely seeing the Guatemala City dump. I mean, it was probably one of the hardest moments for all of the kids in our class.
Where all good men are trampled down.
Garbage trucks would come and run people over almost. Like, it was mind-blowing to see this, like people picking through garbage to survive, and you're like thinking about what you threw out that day and you're like, oh my goodness, like that's what they're living off of right now, and it was mind-blowing standing there watching it and you couldn't do anything about it.
I'll take you to the hurting ground.
The only reason I live where I am is because I was born in Canada, and the only reason they live in the dump is because they were born in Guatemala. And to think of like how extreme that is, it's really hard to grasp and just be able to understand.
This is just two of like probably 500.
The trip also brought the group of students closer together.
Before we went to Guatemala, the class wasn't like exactly as kind of like together. We were all like separate groups and everything. But then when we went to Guatemala, we all like came together as one big group.
I'm a lot closer with my classmates and my friends because we shared something so that deeply impacted all of us. And then as well, I'm more grateful for everything that I have, and I don't take anything for granted.
The students embarked on this trip thinking they were going to make a difference, but they were surprised by what happened.
When we first went, we were thinking, oh, we're going to go down and help them. We're going to dig wells and we're going to do all this stuff for them, but in return, it was Guatemala that changed us.
I think it really builds maturity, and I think like just experiencing this at like a young age, like I know like I talked to a couple of my friends in my class and they already like changed their thinking about what they're going to do after school.
The students definitely come away with big questions basically that they struggle with. Our hope is that what they experience there will one day impact them, or at least start a change in their thinking and thinking outside of themselves and having a greater worldview.
I would like to thank all the White Rock Christian Academy students for sharing their inspiring experiences with me today. Tu puedes hacer la diferencia. That means you can make a difference. I'm Abby, signing up for Gen Y on the Express.
Gen Y is brought to you by Options, Surrey Community Services Society.